All right, let's go ahead and get started. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to ZPE's first monthly Tech Talk Tuesday for our channel partners. My name is Todd Atherton. I'm our channel sales director for the West region, and I'm joined by Marc Westberg, who's our channel sales engineer, and we'll be doing the presentation and demo today. Our plan is to have a new technical session with a new topic on the second Tuesday of each month moving forward. The majority of you who are on this call have done a channel technical training with us, but if not, please make sure to let one of us know. And we can get one scheduled for you, your team, and for anybody within your organization that might benefit from doing so. And just a quick housekeeping before we get Marc going. So Marc's presentation and demo will last approximately 30 minutes, and we will answer any of your questions. All participants will be muted, so please put any questions in the chat so we can address them either during or after the demo. Later today, you will also be receiving an email with details about how you can receive a $20 DoorDash gift card just for attending today. And that's really it. And so other than that, I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Marc and get us started. Marc.
Thank you, Todd. Good morning, everybody. This is the official kickoff to the inauguration or the inaugural Tech Talk Tuesdays. As Todd pointed out, we're going to do these monthly on a different subject within the ZPE solution. In today's topic, we're going to work on managed devices. So we have a Nodegrid device, a ZPE Nodegrid device, and we're going to talk about the devices that it is actually managing. So move on a little bit. Sorry. So the types of devices that can be managed through Nodegrid are RS-232, so your basic serial console connections, Cisco rollout or Cisco pinout, legacy pinout, any of those kind of things. IP managed devices, so IPMI, web, ILO, iDRAC, PDUs, those type of devices. Multiple vendors. I don't know that I have found a vendor that is not supported from a UPS and PDU point of view. Once we get the PDU in the Nodegrid, then we can map the device, the outlet of that device, to the actual Nodegrid, and I'll show that in the demo. We can see USB connected devices, and we can also manage virtualization platforms. So we can manage a VMware ESXi or vSphere host or KVM, Microsoft stuff. So, and then we also have the ability to integrate third-party out-of-band devices. So Vertiv, Lantronix, any of those devices that are out there, we can bring those under management of within ZPE Nodegrid solution, and then we can manage those KVM or console switches and the devices that they are managing. So now we can have more of a timed rollout, maybe is a better way to put it. We can auto detect the ports on the third-party devices, and then again we can get direct access to the device sessions. And then there is a discovery process that further down the road, if we need to go there, we can have a chat about that. So UPS and PDUs, we set the UPS or PDU as an IP managed device, and then all management of that device and the outlets for power on, power off, power cycling, those type of things are all done via SNMP. And then again, we provide control of the PDU outlets either from the PDU or from the specific managed device that PDU port has been integrated into. Outlets can be merged to device, and then we can also graph and monitor the historical consumption either on a per port or on an entire PDU to know what the power consumption of that specific PDU or a specific outlet on a PDU, what the outlet usage of that is. And then ZPE temp and humidity sensors, there are others, smoke, particulate, those are all connected via USB. So, and then data logging is supported by serial sessions, Telnet, SSH, It logs everything which is echoed from the target device, including session details, console output, even without a session. So now, if a device is having an issue or if something happens, we can take that event information and output it to an email, put it to a syslog server, and then alert on that. Within the device, we can take that output, and from there, we can actually create an event for the output, and then we can also have an alert on that with a, we can also then take action on the alert. If it's bring up a different connection, if it's turn down a connection, or whatever the case might be, that's what that would be for. User disconnect, reconnect, those we can add a timestamp also. So now for risk management and compliance, we can see when somebody was in a device and what was actually done. And then, as I was talking about, events can be triggered based on a regex match, and then actions can be triggered on that based on that event. So this event happens, then the script is written or is established. So and then licensing is not real complicated, but it can get a little tricky. There's basically 5 types of licenses for Nodegrid devices. Probably the most used license is the access license. So this allows for management of target devices. So if a device has 8 serial ports in the case of a Bolt, the device will come with 8 licenses for those serial ports, and every device comes with an additional 5 management license for IP management. So the perpetual licenses are included with the device. Additional access licenses can be purchased to manage more IP managed devices. Monitoring license, as I was talking about with the PDU and sensor data, there is a license fee for the monitoring. This gives us the ability to get historical data on either a connection or a PDU, those kind of things. Cluster licenses give the ability to manage an entire Nodegrid infrastructure and the devices that they manage from one node, right? All of them become clustered together. From there, you can get to every device in your infrastructure from maybe the one that's in your local data center or in another data center, whatever the case. But it gives the ability to cluster and provide those actionable alerts on the device. Virtualization license, this allows us to run virtual machines and Docker apps directly on the Nodegrid solution. So it's a KVM solution or Docker. And so if it's a Windows device, if it's a Ubuntu server, even if it's another manufacturer's firewall, we can run those on our device. And then cloud licensing allows management and access to the Nodegrid and the managed devices that they are supporting through the ZPE cloud, which gives us the ability to do zero-touch provisioning, gives us the ability to push templates down to devices either as they come on or as they're in production and a change needs to be made. We can make that change through a template to all devices in an infrastructure, even managed devices, through the cloud, so that we can understand if the patch or if the configuration was taken, and from there we can make changes as needed to a script. Licenses can be managed on each node individually or centrally through a license server or a cluster server, and then they would be from the cluster master. So and then from there, I'm going to move on to a demo. stop sharing for just a second. And let me grab my PowerPoint. Oh no. Oh, there. And now let me move in. So from here, let me make that screen just a little bigger. So this is a Nodegrid bowl, and
Mark, you're not sharing your screen.
Sorry.
No worries.
Let me get back there. Zoom. Share screen. There, now it should be good.
There you go. Good.
So this is a Nodegrid bowl. Has 8 serial ports, has a switch functionality. I'm not going to get into the in-depth weeds of the device in and of itself, but the first place that I usually look when setting up a device is under tracking. What this can give you is the ability to understand what is plugged in where. You can see that I have named these ports in by default, they're just named TTY S1 through 8. But in some of these, we can see that traffic is actually moving. So now we know that the Nodegrid is actually seeing these devices. If you see RS-232 signals, that's an indication that those devices have been connected to the Nodegrid and the Nodegrid is actually seeing them. So now you can console into them or whatever the case might be. The same thing is for USB devices. In this case, I just have a wireless modem. If I move to a different device, this one, I have a temperature and humidity sensor connected to it. So now you can see it's 68 degrees in my house, 45% humidity. You can go ahead and manage that, but there's really not a great deal to manage. You can put the address coordinates in there. So, but that gives us the ability to understand what's connected at what point. So now we can go in here and we can see I have several devices connected to the USB. I have a 4-port USB to serial console port, a USB hub, and then the sensor device, as we talked about. We can go into Bluetooth. So if something was connected via Bluetooth, we could see that here. And then in this case, you can see my wireless modem, and it's registered, it's connected, it's done 25 megabytes of data consumption since the first of the month. Signal strength is pretty good, so you can get that information. Then you can even delve a little deeper to get the IPMI number and such. So moving back. So from there, once we know what the devices are or what we're connected to, I'm going to move over to this other device here. We can go to manage devices, and this is where the configuration of managed devices is done. I'll get into this 5406. This is the screen that comes up when you establish a serial connection. Actually, let's move and I'll show you what we got. So if we go to add, you can see that we just have to put the name in, and then there's a list of different kind of devices that are available via templates. In this case, we'll just make it a device console. You can do IPMI, IMI, any of those kind of things, NetApp. There's all kinds of templates here for you to select. I'm going to go to that guy, and then I'm not going to set passwords right now. Read, write, or multi-session gives the ability for multiple administrators to log in. Read, write multi-session gives the ability for multiple users to log in read, write mode and make configuration changes. This does not, though, change like in a Cisco router where only one person can be in enable mode, right? You will still say you will still get the error that says somebody's already logged in enable mode in say a Cisco router, or things that are limited to one configuration use. So from there, we can move on and we can see views. I'm going to hit OK here. You can put different views for different types of appliances. And then we can go back under devices. I'll select that guy. And then under commands is where we add data logging, the power and outlet, and telnet and web. And I'll get into that in just a minute. So from there, now that I have that device connected, we can connect to it. And we can go say a console. Let's see, let's go to console to it. And it'll take a second. There it comes. Okay, so there's that. Let me jump in. Password issue, let's fix that. Oh, everything has to fight. So we'll just move on from there. I'll show you a different one. The thing about the console is, if you can get logged in or not, we can go in. This guy. We can go in, and at the bottom you can see that the specific port is integrated with this device. So in this case, I'm just going to do power status. I'm not going to power my device because it would take me down. And then, so now we talk to the PDU from the console session, and it says the power's on, everything's good to go. So from there, let's move to an ILO. So I'm going to go back to manage devices, and then I'm going to go to this ML310 ILO. And basically, we have it set up as an ILO, the IP address, username and password. From there, we can go ahead and go to access. And then if I go to web, it'll take a second. We have to proxy the web connection from the Nodegrid to the device itself. So it takes just a second. And there we go. There we go. So now if I log into this, there we are. So now we're in my ILO session. So now I can do any root server configuration that needs to be done. We can get system information, event log, integrated management, all of those kind of things. ILO federation, even down to remote console, should we need that. If you need to upgrade, say, a server or whatever, we can put the virtual media in the ILO, and then we can select the boot order to select that virtual media. So it's pretty straightforward. So that's a little bit about the ILO. Let's go to, get rid of that guy. And then the next one that I wanted to talk about was the KVM side of things. So in this case, you can see I have a Windows server. I think it's a 2012 server. From there, instead of just connecting to it from a web or a console connection, we can actually go in and KVM to that device. So it takes, again, it has to proxy it, so it takes a second. And once I'm done showing the RDP session, so here's an RDP session of my device. Once I'm done with this, I'll show how to set this in a PDU up. So you can see this is my active users directory, active directory users and computers, excuse me. So I'm in the server via RDP. You don't have to have an RDP client on your workstation, those kind of things. What this means is we can manage the entire infrastructure from one place. If it's a Nodegrid device, or if it's from the cloud or in cluster, as we talked about earlier, we can manage all of the devices from one single place. So that was a little bit about KVM. We have about 5 minutes left. Let's go and show how to discover the ports on a PDU. So here's my PDU. You can see all the ports are discovered. Some of them I have gone into the PDU and named. Some I haven't as of yet. I don't think there's ports in them. So from there, we can go back to manage devices. And then in this APU PDC or PDU, APC PDU, it's just like any other IP managed device. We enter the IP address, set the username to whatever it is. In my case, it's APC and a super secret password, multi-session, read-write multi-session. And from there, we can go to outlets and see what outlets are there. But from commands is where we find the outlet. So we go there and we find it. We set it up that the protocol is SNMP. So once we go under here, by default, SSH and Telnet are enabled. By default, SNMP is not. So whatever you have set up for your SNMP communities, or if it's version 2 or version 3, need to enter that into this, the community box, and then click save. From there, in usually 5 or 10 minutes, the outlets will be discovered. And from there, we can integrate them into a device. And I'll show you how to do that now. So in this 5406, you can see that we have the devices. We go under commands and we go under outlet, and then we can select the PDU that we're working on, the tower, and then you can see this one is already integrated, so it's not up in the top corner, but I could just put another one in there. And now we have 2 different outlets that could be controlled. So, and then let's move down to showing the KVM, which is going to be on this 82. And again, it's under commands. And I already have it set up, but let's go to another device. I think I have this one. So under here, we can go under KVM, and you can see that you basically enable it, and you have the ability to do VNC or RDP. And then you have a few different scripts for different types of devices in order to get to that RDP session or a VNC session or whatever the case might be. So it's that straightforward for setting it up. And then one last thing I wanted to show was if we go under access and the data logging side of things. Let's not do that guy. Let's move over to this guy. And then if we click on data log, it takes it a second. And then here's the log from everything that has been entered in or not. As I talked about in the earlier presentation, that we don't have to have a session open to get these console messages to the Nodegrid. So from there, I'm going to leave it at that. I think we've covered managed devices, how to connect them, how to see what's going on with them, and I think we've done what we needed to do. So let me back up, and I'll bring this guy up. Maybe. There we go. So a big thank you to everybody for joining today.
Hey, Mark.
And now, yeah.
Mark, we actually have a couple of questions that we wanted to kind of get through if you don't
Okay.
mind. So the first question is, when you were talking through licenses, if I have a cluster license, do I also need an access license?
Yes, they are different licenses. So the access license is to manage the device that the managed device, if it's a switch, router, firewall, server, whatever it is. And then the clustering license makes it so that the node grids themselves can talk to each other and share data.
Great. And then you mentioned sensors. Do customers need to use ZPE sensors, or can I use third party? And if so, will they work the same way?
So the ZPE sensors, I believe there's 7 or 9 of them. Those are built, there's scripts and everything ready to take the information in. That's not to say, though, that you can't plug in another USB device of some kind. I had a customer who had an old industrial HPE power ohm meter or amp meter, and it had a USB connection. We plugged it in, and we were actually able to show the information that it was, you know, the wattage or voltage information that it was outputting in a graph. So a completely non-ZPE device that was actually graphing data for this specific customer's use case. So yes, you certainly can. There may be some limitations on the device itself. You may need to contact support and get a short script or something written, but we are here to help you with that.
Great. And then the last question that I show is, for the managed devices, are you able to auto detect the devices, or do we need to manually enter them all individually?
There is an auto discovery solution built into the Nodegrid device, so we can get the devices online. We can write an auto discovery rule that says, go look at all the serial ports, go look at all the USB ports, and tell me what the host name of the devices of them is. And then at the end of that discovery process, there is the ability to either add or enable the device or disable it if you find stuff on your network that isn't, you know, that you don't want to manage or that isn't manageable. If it has an IP and it's not manageable, then you can just disable it and it will not show up in the access screen. So I hope that made sense.
Yeah, no, I think that's perfect. Let's jump back on here real quick. And thanks, Mark, for that. And thanks, everyone, for joining the call today. And as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be doing these on the second Tuesday of each month, with the next one being on Tuesday, October 10th, with a new topic. In the next demo, excuse me, Mark will be discussing ZPE Cloud, and we'll overview ZPE Cloud functionality. And for all of you that attended today, you'll receive an email, as I mentioned earlier, with the details for the $20 DoorDash gift card. And again, I want to thank everybody for coming out, and we'll see you in 4 weeks. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.